Hello and welcome to another edition of Active Living. We got our traveling man here, Jim Robeck, and Jim has just come back from a 15-day trip in the Adriatic area, and we'd like to talk to Jim about his experiences. Welcome to our show there, Jim.
Thanks, George. It's a pleasure to be back again.
Yeah, you've been traveling quite a bit recently. Well, you just came back from 15 days, right?
Right, exactly. And then I got 2 trips lined up in the next couple of months. We're going to Belgium, Luxembourg, Germany, and France, and then after that, we're going to do a Danube cruise in November. So
oh my God,
we're having 2 active ones here coming
wow,
up.
you guys are really, really traveling around.
Exactly.
Unbelievable. Well, tell us about this trip. Tell what interested you in going to this area of the world?
Well, this was interesting here, but let me give you a little bit of history of that part of the country. It's basically countries that are opposite Italy. There's the Adriatic Sea that divides Italy and these countries.
Right.
And these six countries are basically, after the First World War, Austro-Hungary monarchy gave up on it, and basically it became the kingdom of the Serbs, the Croats, and the Slavs. And then after the Second World War, 1945, then it was broken up into 6 republics of Yugoslavia. So that's how Yugoslavia became part of that. And now it broke up into Bosnia, Croatia, Macedonia, Montenegro, Serbia, and Slovenia. And they had 2 provinces called Kosovo and Vojvodina. And so that made up that particular part of the country there. It doesn't include Albania.
Okay.
So these were the countries we basically visited. And the history there is phenomenal, and the scenery was just exquisite. I mean, it's just a great place to visit. I was overwhelmed by not only the cleanliness of the area, but just the people themselves, and friendly and joyous, and just a wonderful countries to visit.
Now, what language do they speak over there?
Just about everything, you know, from you got the Serbs, you got the Slavs, you know, you got the Muslims there, and you know, what else is there? The Macedonians, and so mostly Serbs and Croatians and Slavs are probably the main ones.
Did you have any problems with English?
No, a lot of them are speak English. You know, I'm sure it's like a second language there from, you know, going back to probably the Second World War. So, and the problem there, you know, basically with those countries there, that when after Tito kept the countries pretty well in line and had a lot of economic growth, and you could see that it did very well. And then after he died in 1980, then 1987, this guy named Milosevic came to power, and then what he tried to do, him being from Serbia, they tried to take over part of Bosnia, which was only controlled by a small percentage of Serbs. But he's trying to take over that country because the other 4 countries broke off as independent countries, which would have been Croatia, Slovenia, Macedonia, and Bosnia.
Okay.
So that's why this whole ruckus started over there between 1991 to 1995. You had a 4-year war there in which Bosnia really got hammered. I mean, there was the main issue that where the war actually transpired mainly. You'll see a lot of that as we went from the capital of Croatia to Sarajevo.
Was this one of these ethnic cleansing kinds of wars?
Yes,
where
it kind of was, and then Milosevic wanted to have the power, you know, so he started to infiltrate, you know, into Bosnia, and they had these referendums and votes and that, and it just became a mess. And then you have Muslims there, which they just didn't really get along, you know, between the Muslims and the Serbs, you know. So that became the hotbed, and that's why the war really basically started there.
So anyway, tell us about your trip. What cities where did you start?
Okay, what we do is we flew from Detroit to Amsterdam, and Amsterdam flew into the capital of Croatia, which is Zagreb. And that was our starting point, and it's a great city, and I'll give you some of the highlights of the city. It's just a wonderful city, very clean, these cities. People don't drop anything on the ground. Everything goes in the receptacles.
That's fantastic.
And they keep it real clean. It's a city, it's all cobblestone streets. There's no cars involved there other than parts of it is, but mostly it's cobblestone streets which you can walk.
No graffiti on the buildings?
No,
like
there's
that?
a little bit, but nothing like you see in other countries.
In Germany, for example.
Yeah, I'm sure. In some of these other countries we've gone to, a lot of graffiti, but no, it's pretty well controlled, and so that was a good thing. But the main thing in the capital here, which they have what they call the upper and lower part of Zagreb, and the upper part is where the old part of town is. And they have basically there the Zagreb Cathedral, which is a twin-spire cathedral. It's a beautiful church. And then you have like St. Mary's Church, which you'll see in the background here, basically is the church that was started and built in the 17th century.
Okay.
You see the coat of arms on the roof there. Beautiful area there. Then we went to what they call the Mirago Cemetery. It's a pristine area. This cemetery just beyond belief. You know, you'd never see a cemetery with these paved roads and all the sculptures and things of that nature. You'll see some of that in some of the pictures we'll show there, and that is just phenomenal. It's so peaceful. We sat there because it was so hot in Zagreb. When we got there, it was between 105 to 110.
Whoa, really?
It was hot. So when we went there, it was nice, a cooling area, sit down and relax. So it gave us a refreshing moment to kind of kick back out of the sun and such, because it was hot. It was very hot. Then basically the city was started way back in 1100 century, or around 1094, by the name of Ladislav. He started the city, and that's how Zagreb became the capital of Croatia. There was a lot of museums there. Went to Nicholas Tesla, who basically started the alternating current here in the United States over Edison, who had direct current.
Right.
So he was born in Croatia. So we went to his museum, and he's got a statue there in the town of him. So that was kind of neat to see that. Didn't realize that myself.
Wow. And
a lot of theaters there, a lot of museums to see. And one thing was very unique, like I say, they have flowers everywhere. People take home flowers just for the sake of taking flowers home to decorate their homes. It's just so beautiful, just a wonderful country. And they had an open air market there on a Sunday. We got there Saturday, but on Sunday they had an open air market to buy vegetables, strawberries, anything you wanted to buy was there. It was really nice to pick up some fresh fruit and eat it while we were there, because it was hot and you had to drink a lot of water. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, right.
You had to be a camel, I'm sure.
How about beer? Did you drink beer there too?
A little bit, yeah. We had it because I had to, because that's the only thing was palatable, and it was very cheap too. I think that was interesting because beer was about $3 and Coke was $2.50. So what's the option?
Yeah, right.
Buy the beer for $3. What a deal, So
Absolutely.
Go with the beer. So that was, I was surprised. Everywhere we went, beer was almost as cheap as Coke. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, wow.
Really good. And once we left Zagreb, then we went to Sarajevo. Naturally, with Sarajevo, everybody's aware of that, which is in Bosnia. This is where the First World War started, because of when they killed Archduke Ferdinand and his wife Sofia there in Sarajevo. That's what basically started the First World War, basically. So, and they had a guy by the name of Gravilo Princip. He was a guy with 6 conspirators. They shot at him the first time when he came through the city. Right. They went to the town hall, they came back, and they went the same route. And here these guys were out there waiting for him.
Oh, no kidding.
And they shot him and his wife, and then apparently found out later she was pregnant, so there was a child. So there was actually 3 of them killed, which is really sad. And but going down to Sarajevo was kind of interesting. You could see the remnants of the war. There was hundreds and hundreds of homes that were just shelled out, skeletons of buildings, and people just left them.
They're still there.
They're still there. They just left them. If you want to go there and squat, you can have a home.
This is the First World War?
No, this was after 1945. This Bosnia War, 1991 to 1995.
Oh, 90. Okay,
yeah, 91 to 95.
That war, not the World War, but their own war.
I was surprised there wasn't that much damage there during those wars. It was mainly, just this ethnic war that started in 91, 95, where a lot of the destruction happened. But going down there was interesting. There was pyramids. It looked like a mountain. There was a pyramid. And what they found out, that there's 5 pyramids there which resemble the Egyptian pyramids.
Okay.
And they're like 5 pyramids, which has the sun, the moon, the dragon, earth, and love. And they were poo-pooing this, and finally they found out they are pyramids there. So they got them underground there and everything else, and they went through the tunnels, and they're finding these pyramids, which are similar, like I say, to Egypt and in South America. So these are very similar all the way.
When were these built? Do you know?
We don't know. They're just trying to find out the history of it now, but it has to go back a long way. I'm sure, back to maybe about Christ and things of that nature, but I'm sure because they were really just getting into a lot of the what do you want to call them, Egyptologists that come there and look at these pyramids, say how they compare and things of that nature. Yeah, and basically Sarajevo was really nice. We visited the museum there and saw some of the artifacts and the gun that the guy shot, Archduke Ferdinand and his wife. And so it was right in the corner there, right where the bridge, we were at the corner where the bridge where he was shot. And but basically now the Muslims and Serbs live in harmony there, but they're about 50-50.
Okay.
They seem to live in harmony, and if you go down the main street, everybody knows everybody else's business. So it's kind of interesting. So they kind of work peacefully together, which is kind of neat. And the biggest thing, they have a big mosque there called the Ghazi Husrev Bey Mosque, which is very pretty. You'll see a picture later on in the video here. And once again, you'll see the cemeteries are split between Muslims and the Christians. The Muslims have white crosses. The Christians are all typically we're familiar with.
Okay.
And remember, this is where they had the Olympics back in 1984. And you'll see a lot of remnants of the war. That a lot of the buildings have shell marks in the buildings. The churches and everything are still there. And the reason they don't repair it because people who live there, they have a squabble between, well, my brother can do it, or his brother can do it, or my uncle, and they never get to do it. because this guy can do it cheaper than that. So they said, "Oh, hell with it. Just leave it the way it is." And that's,
Yeah, right.
You'll
right,
see a lot
right.
of that there. It's unbelievable.
Huh.
So, and from there we left Bosnia. It was kind of neat. We want to stay there for 2 days, but the activity there and the cities were unbelievable. Again, walking down all these streets and all these towns and these countries, clean, no cars, and everybody's happy. All the souvenirs and people living happy.
Not a lot of cars.
No, not in these, right in the cities. There never
Really?
cars. Yeah.
So it's completely different than if you went to someplace over in near China or
Oh yeah, totally
Taiwan or
different. Yeah, I mean,
someplace
it's
like
just
that.
broken off. They've kept it, very prehistoric and very, very nice. And like I say, clean without a doubt. No matter what time of day and night you go, nobody
great.
drops anything. It's unbelievable.
fantastic.
Very good. Once we left Sarajevo, we then went to a town called Mostar. Now we're heading towards south down the Adriatic Sea, to the Adriatic Sea. And the only thing famous about Mostar, they have this famous bridge that was built about 1600.
Okay.
And the guy who designed it, which is interesting, he said that he designed it, and as they were building it, and the guy who was the governor or whatever it was of that particular area said, if it doesn't work, you could die.
Really?
So he left before it was completed, even though he had a replica to the side of it that proved that it could be done, and it was. And what they use this for now, it's a stopping off point, which is real nice. Once again, hotter than the blazes there. So again, you had to have a beer and everything at that point there. But they have a jumping contest there every year. And the bridge is 20 meters high, which is 60 feet, and then you put another 10-foot platform there, which is 90 feet from the top of the platform to this river below. I mean, just a small area you got to hit. If you don't hit it, you're going to land on the rocks and you'll be picked up with a blotter. I mean, it was a long way down, let me tell you. And once again, you'll see.
So the river must be fairly deep there. For them to
It
dive.
must be, because these guys, I mean, it's interesting too, because while we're there, they have guys that are on the bridge right now. They pass a hat around. Once they get enough money, then they'll jump.
Oh,
and these guys are like 19 or 20. They're like 45 and 50 years old, these guys.
Oh, is that right?
And I said, holy cow, they still do that? That's incredible. But I mean, it was nice. It was very, again, once again, clean. It was a nice place to stop, but jumping off that bridge, and it's beyond me. I can't believe it.
Sounds exciting.
Well, for them it is, not for me. I get the chills just thinking about heights. And once we left there, then we went to Dubrovnik, which is what they call the Pearl of the Adriatic. It's such a beautiful place there.
Is that right on the
Adriatic Sea? Yeah, right on the Adriatic Sea. Yeah, they have you'll see there's a fort there, and it's basically it's an old fort that protected that harbor there, and it's built with the fort. It's about a mile and a quarter around, and the walls are anywhere from 12 feet to 18 foot wide, where you could walk around the ramparts there.
Right.
And within these walls, they had about 7 or 8 museums. They're really nice museums. And a lot of nice ones, like maritime, a church museum, ethnological museum, the natural science, agriculture, a lot of different things you can see. The interesting part was one place was Rector's Palace inside the walls.
Okay.
And in that wall, they had a pharmacy, which goes back way back to like the 1500s. They had all these different herbs in that they could prescribe for any kind of illness. And so, I mean, all these jars and things of that nature, and they could do it. And just to the left of that was 2 things. One was they had like a little, like a head, and within that head they had a skull of somebody. I don't know who the famous person was. There was a skull on top of this fixture was in the glass there.
Right.
And to the left of that is where, when the war was in that country, the Serbs were shelling the fort. And they showed a missile that came through the wall. They have a big hole there, and they showed the missile coming through the wall, landed in the other wall.
Oh, really?
And it's just covered with plastic, to prove that there was,
Yeah.
And they destroyed a lot of that particular fort there at that time back between.
Well, let me ask you a question about.
Yeah.
We hear a lot about today about the refugees coming over from Syria and inhabiting this area. Did you see a lot of that, or did you see?
We did not. I don't know if it's they did it by accident or by design. I'm not sure, but we didn't see any of that.
Okay.
None whatsoever. I mean, all the towns we visited. I think it might be such that this was the normal tourist season, because both France and Italy are on vacation.
Okay.
So the Adriatic Sea is all beaches.
Okay.
And all these beaches were just covered with people. I mean, there was so any little rock, any spot, there were people there to swim. And I can't imagine the money. There were so many yachts there. It was incredible.
Really?
I mean, oh my Lord. I don't know where the money is. I mean,
So the haves and the have-nots exist
without
there.
a doubt, And one of the things you'll see in the beaches, there's a lot of topless women, sunbathing, all that stuff there. No qualms, nothing
big
about
deal.
that. No big deal, nothing
Right.
whatsoever. So, but the interesting part in the town, there's this one guy, he goes through a town about noon every day. He takes a bag of corn and he drops it on this sidewalk, and almost 5,000 pigeons descend
Oh.
on this corn. And
Yeah.
they're jumping on each other, and it was just totally amazing. I mean, just
Yeah.
all these pigeons fighting for a little bit of this corn, it was just incredible. So, but that's what it was. But it was, again, a real nice, clean city, no question about that. And again, people were friendly. A lot of tourists because it was the tourist season.
Right.
And normally we don't travel in the tourist season, but this time just happened to be this was a good time to go, so we went. So then we left from Dubrovnik, went to Kotar, and this is in actually Montenegro. It's a small country just south of Croatia.
Okay.
And during all these times, we had to go through so many border crossings. It's incredible. You're going from Croatia to Bosnia, out of Bosnia, back into Bosnia, into Montenegro, into Croatia. I mean,
Do they have like
incredible.
border guards
Oh, yeah.
there,
Oh,
and you
yeah.
have
It
to
took-
show your passport and all this stuff?
Yep, every time.
Really?
And, yeah, it was
So it's not
unbelievable.
like Europe where you travel through.
No, it was amazing. So we went down to Kotar, and the two big things there is naturally there's what they call a church, Our Lady of the Rocks Church, and the reason for that was real neat. Was it's in the middle of this in the bay there, and how it was derived was the fact that when these mariners went out and they came back safely, they would throw a rock in the middle of this bay. And it built up in the mountain. They built a church on there, and the unique thing about there was one portrait in there. Was one woman. Her husband went out and he never came back for 25 years. And she embedded a beautiful portrait and embedded with gold and silver threads and also her own hair. And it took her 25 years, and she became blind, but he never came back, unfortunately. And her name was Jacinta Debrozovic. And it's still there, and it's a beautiful, beautiful picture, just unbelievable. And then
Really?
went to the city itself. They have the Venetian line there, which is a symbol of there, because Venice was a controlling governor of that whole Adriatic Sea. They had control of all the sea trade and everything else. So
Okay.
that's where the Venice line was there. Then another wall city, very clean. From there, we went to Split. Now we're back into Croatia now. And the big thing about there is that the Roman Emperor Diocletian, he started that in about 385 AD.
Okay.
Built a beautiful palace where he was going to reside, and we went downstairs and all the caves and everything down there. Beautiful. He set up there. It was really wonderful to see, and a lot. I mean, these Romans, they built some beautiful structures, without a
Oh, they
doubt.
did.
Oh, they're unbelievable.
Yeah,
So,
last time I was over there, I mean, I saw some murals that were basically size of a basketball court. They were just incredible.
I mean, the statues and how they built it, the aqueducts and the getting water.
Yeah.
I mean, and the rooms and such, incredible, just incredible. And from there, we went to what they call a place called Plitvička. And this is an area, it's a national park where they have something like 18 waterfalls and beautiful stream there. And they had boardwalks, you walked all the way through there, see all these different waterfalls and such. And the highest waterfall there was 280 feet.
Well, that's
And it was pretty good size. It's kind of a stream, not like a Niagara Falls or Victoria Falls and that, but it's 280 feet high. But the unique thing about that, the lake is crystal clear. You see the fish in the water, you see the ducks, you see everything. And then we went to the next city we went to was Opatija. And the most famous part about Opatija is the fact that a lot of the rich people from Europe came there. It was a very elite area.
Okay.
And a very nice city. Once again, you could see the money that was there. The thing I liked about there, they had one statue. It's called the Maiden of the Seagulls. So it was in the port there. I took a picture of it.
Right.
There's some beautiful sculptures there. And
Great.
yeah, and then from there we went to, they call the caves in Postonia. These are underground caves.
Okay.
And they're about the third largest in the world. The Kentucky caves in Kentucky are the biggest, the Monmouth caves in the world.
Right.
But these are number 3, and they're phenomenal. You take a train in there for about 10 minutes, you get down in the caverns and the chambers and all the stalactites and stalagmites. It's incredible.
Wow.
I mean, they had one there, they had a white type of a spire coming down and a dark, like brown. But they're right together, which is unusual,
Yeah.
white and a different color one.
Right.
And so that was interesting. Then it takes 10 minutes in, and you walk around for about 2 miles, and then you take the train out. It takes about 6 or 7 minutes to come out of the darn cave there.
Okay.
The Germans use it quite a bit for defense purposes and such. So, but it's something to really see there in Postonia. Oh, then from there we went to a little town called Bled. It was more like an alpine village. again, the lake is so clear, these lakes, you can see to the bottom.
Really?
It's like an emerald green. It's just absolutely gorgeous. And this castle set way on top of a cliff about, I don't know, about 500 feet high. And I don't know how they built it. It was beyond me, you know. I mean, it's incredible how they build these things and where the manpower came and the structures and the materials. I don't know, but I mean, a beautiful little city, very calm and beautiful place to visit. Once again, they just picked up some beautiful places. Then from there, we went to the capital of Croatia, which is Ljubljana. And now we're in Slovenia now, so because we're now in Slovenia. And they had being so hot that they had a fountain in the middle of the square that's called Roba Fountain, and you could go through it. They had a spray of water which cooled you off.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of neat, everybody walking through it, you know, and things of that nature. Another thing unique about the architecture was incredible. Again, from the Austrian Empire that they built all these beautiful architectural buildings. One was unique was the library. The windows looked like a book. They actually come in like a V, and you open up like a book.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's kind of neat. I thought that's pretty ingenious there. So the architecture was just phenomenal there. And then we go to Trieste, and the neatest place there was this Miramar Castle. And the thing about that, the amazing articles in this place. I mean, you can't believe the money that's in these porcelain jars and the scenery and the pictures and the wooden sculptures. I mean, just unbelievable. I don't know where the money is. I mean, it must have been through that trading, you know, because, man, I'll tell you, there's a lot of money there. Just,
yep.
And, okay, once we get to Venice, then basically at that point there, we unload from the bus, and we leave our bus driver, and so they take all our luggage and take in a boat. So they take all our luggage in the boat. Well, we go in another boat with all the people that get right to our hotel. So we didn't actually stay on the island of Venice. We stayed on one just opposite of it.
Okay. And
our hotel is right across, and they have a boat that ferries us back and forth between Venice and where we're staying at the hotel.
Right.
And again, the hotel was a 5-star, and it's just incredible. They had beautiful gardens in the back, you know. In the front, it looks like nothing. It's an old building like that. Once you walk behind the walls,
yep. Different.
Unbelievable, totally different. So
cool.
Really neat. So now we go to the island, we get into our hotel and such, so naturally we got to take the boat over to Venice and go see what's going on there. So our first thing was to go on a boat to go through the Grand Canal all the way around.
All right.
Yeah, all the way around Venice to see all the buildings and such. So that was a nice drive for it was about 45-minute ride around the island. So interesting part about Venice, it was called basically, it's called the City of Water, or the City of Mask, or the City of Bridges. There are over 400 bridges that crisscross just in Venice. I mean, small little island, you know, like 400 bridges, you know.
And all those gondolas.
And all those gondolas. Everywhere you can think of, you know.
Right. And pigeons.
And pigeons, too. Well, you know, one thing is you cannot feed the pigeons. If you feed the pigeons, they'll fine you.
Well, it wasn't true.
Well, they're trying to kill them now. They're actually putting some insecticide or something in the feed now to stop the, whatever you want to call it,
the main square
population.
The main square in Venice, thousands of pigeons.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Unbelievable.
So they're trying to control. So they don't want you to feed them, and they're trying to control them by, you know, this insecticide they're putting into the food there. So, but so much to see in Venice. We went to Murano Glass Company, where they actually blew the glass.
Okay.
The most expensive glass you can buy. There was one statue I wanted to buy. It was a moose, 10,000 euros.
Wow.
He said, you want to buy? I said, well, I'll get down to 8,500. Then he got to 6,500. I could have probably bought it for 5,000 euros, but that's about $6,000 in American dollars because it was worth about $1.18 the euro versus our American dollar. So, but beautiful stuff. I mean, it's incredible glass. But it's not. It's famous today, but people don't buy it as much as they used to in the past. But I mean, just incredible stuff. The biggest thing about Venice, you know, basically is the canals and the gondolas. We went on a gondola ride for about 30 minutes. It cost like about $65 each, and it wasn't worth it. We had an accordion player, and we had a guy singing to us. As we're going through the canals, you know, everybody's clapping, you know, and having a great old time while we had the music, you know, we're singing there. So
that's great.
But the main place about Venice, that St. Mark's Square is the main place where everybody gathers. If you want to get lost, you always come back to St. Mark's Square, you know, because all the signs are there and such. Then you got Doge's Palace, which is where the imperial justice would perform. They call the Bridge of Sighs, where the prisoners were in. So they came back into the hall, and then these 3 justices would decide your fate, you know, the gallows or whatever.
Oh,
you know.
wow.
Yeah, it was, but again, the sculptures in there, the paintings, and it's just unbelievable. You just can't believe how much these paintings, how many on the ceilings, you know. In fact, they're paintings that are not like Michelangelo used to paint the ceiling. They would paint on the floor and on the canvas and put it up and put the frame around it. Okay. And it's incredible. Then you got the Rialto Bridge, which is the most famous bridge in Venice. You know, it's the white bridge, and they have a compromise of our second, which was a wooden bridge, which is supposed to duplicate the reality, which is the other part of the island there.
Right.
So it's there, and naturally the island is slowly sinking. The population is about only 30,000 now. Most of the people who own places there do not live on the island. They live off the island because there's too damn many tourists.
Okay.
So there's only 30,000 now, so they just rent it out or, just leave there because there's too many tourists in summer.
Sure.
I'm out of here, so
Yeah.
that's it. So you have the Peggy Guggenheim Museum there. She's famous in New York, with the Guggenheim Museum.
Right, right.
They have bus routes, which are the boat rides. If you go from island to island, they got boats. You buy a ticket for the whole day.
Right, right.
Well, ours was free because we had one hotel, which we were staying at. The hotel on the other side is their sister's one, so we can use that boat to go back and forth. And they go every half hour. Last time, or one night we went, we came back 11:30 at night. But
Okay.
And there was one unique thing there about Venice. They had a spiral staircase, the only one in Venice that's on the outside of the building. There's no staircase inside, it's on the outside.
Really?
Yeah, it's the only one there. It's about 6 stories high.
Interesting.
Well, I
Wow.
think it cost like €7 to climb to the top. So, we've done enough climbing and walking. You can see from the outside. That's it. Don't need to do that. So, Venice is a very interesting place. Once again, to find a bathroom, you better go to have a coffee or a beer or something
Really?
to eat, and then you can go to the bathroom. We found a couple of marketplaces that we had bought sandwiches, was kind of neat, a little cheaper, but it's a good city, and the food was good. And our last night we went back to the island. We took the boat over there, and we had a nice dinner there. And we had an Italian guy sang to everybody,
Oh, yeah,
which was
right.
kind of neat. So that was.
Well, when I was there, as I recall, in the main square, there were little stages around the side, and they had different performers.
Yep. Yeah.
Doing that. in
Yeah,
the
we
main
saw
square.
that one night. They had a band over here and a band over there. They were
Right.
split apart there in the same square.
Right.
I mean, they were really good, these bands. They're big bands, They weren't like 2 or 3. They're like 8 or 9 or 10 people
Yeah.
playing.
Oh,
them.
yeah, they're terrific.
Beautiful music, And say, wow, that was incredible. And but like I say, you talked about that as we saw very few of these people that played musical instruments in the various cities. They played and trying to get money, which they were excellent musicians without a
Right.
doubt. Excellent musicians, just incredible. I was going to say too is that the churches there's so many churches to see.
All right.
You can see going to so many of them. I mean, most of them are not allowed to take pictures. We took a couple of pictures, but kind of on the slide. But,
Yeah.
but all the churches, there's so many of them. There's so many. I mean, you go one, you say, oh, here's another one. But everyone's different. Very unique, and it's a good place to hang out because in the hot weather, once again, it's a cooling off and refreshing area to spend a few minutes there, to cool off there. So
Sure.
But Venice is unique. I mean, this is a great area to visit this part of the country.
Yeah.
I mean, I never would have believed it, but it's
It
just
sounds like
wonderful.
you had a fantastic trip.
It was really fantastic. It was too short, unfortunately. I wish we had more time. The last thing about Venice is that, which is really interesting, we had to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning once we were leaving the country.
Ooh.
3 o'clock in the morning, get our luggage outside. We go outside, drop it off outside outside the door there, and all of a sudden there's a speedboat comes over.
Okay.
It's picking us up. There's 4 of us, with our luggage. I felt like James Bond, at 4 o'clock in the morning. We're loading this boat. That's the only way you get to the airport is by boat.
Really?
And so you go across the Grand Canal, and then you have to go through Venice, go real slow, other side, and you continue on to the airport. It takes 35 minutes to get to the airport.
Wow.
And once you get there, you take all your luggage off. The guy leaves, and you have to take your luggage. You walk up the walkway there, the moving escalator there. And I thought, at 5 o'clock in the morning, who the hell's in the airport? There are like 3,000 to 5,000 people in there. And say, oh, everybody's trying to get out of Venice, It's
Right.
amazing. It's unreal. I mean, but
Well,
we've
Jim,
got
we're just about out
Yep.
of time, so we're going to have to wrap it up. But man, what an interesting trip you had.
It is. This is
It
a wonderful
sounded
place
great.
to visit. Yeah, I would recommend to anybody who want to go, and it's very inexpensive. I'd say around $2,500 for everything, so it's a good deal.
Great.
So,
Well, thank you very much, folks, for joining us for another edition of Active Living. We certainly have enjoyed talking to Jim today. Thanks for coming.
thanks, George. Excellent.